Good morning and good evening, fellow countrymen, wherever you're joining me from around the world. Once again, I'm Bolakum. In response to a call Paul, a senior SPLM General Secretary, following all the events that are unfolding in our country, I think to some of you who have not lived in politics of South Sudan, like I did and my other colleagues, will begin to understand the reason someone like Akol Paul will come out clearly and suggest that the December 13 was not orchestrated by coup, but it was just an internal power struggle between Dr. Riek Machar and Salva Kiir Mayardit. I think when some of our senior government officials here in the United States would say stuff like that, we were seen as anti-government, we were seen as anti-narrative, because the narrative was brought to us to market it, especially in my office in Washington, D.C. It was suggested that it was a coup, said that we can pinpoint the fact that Riek Machar is the orchestrator. All right, now, few takes out of this conversation from Akol Paul. The desperation for Akol Paul to instate the spirit of SPLM is the reason why he realized that everything has just fallen apart. The country is falling apart, the leadership is falling apart, and SPLM completely has lost its purpose, its vision, and everything that it stood for as a liberator party. I believe to what one of my colleagues has said here as a commentator, that we have such a thing called SPLM as a symbol, but in reality, there's no any sign of true SPLM that respect the dignity of the people of South Sudan and their aspiration. Now, here's where things get really funny. They're talking about election in a country that is completely volatile, divided across ethnic line. One group of South Sudanese is seen as enemy of the state. The other groups seem to be government, and all of this are done at the backdrop of trying to appease international community that we are a democratic state, a state that put their dissidents behind bars, kill political oppositions, arrest some of them, and the list goes on. So the whole idea in the narrative, according to J1, because their mandate obligations as a transition government of South Sudan has came to an end about 3 to 4 years ago. So all this time, the government has been running as a legitimate government, and they're looking for validation as a government to prove to the world that they're still functioning as a democracy, even at the expense of killing your own people, even at the expense of launching military assault toward a specific community. You still believe in your heart that you can still have election. Well, one thing I know for sure, even if there is going to be election, maybe it's Kir Mayar and his family who are going to cast their vote and maybe elect themselves again. But the people of South Sudan, from Warab to Upper Nile to Abyei, to all the corners of South Sudan, they don't see any reason for election when the government has not actually explained what is their position in their service delivery to the people. If 2013 was not the best insult to the people of South Sudan, then Akol Paul need to explain a lot of things to the people of South Sudan. The justification to ethnic clean one dynamic tribe, that need to be put into a better explanation. Apology is not enough. To say I'm sorry at the cost of 40,000 people, that's not enough. If we know for sure it was just a power struggle, then all the 40-something people that were killed innocently, like seriously, they deserve more than just an apology, because they had no reason for them to be killed. Even the attack on Bor in 2013 should have never happened. Accountability need to be provided and hold those people who are really seriously responsible for all those atrocities. Now, here's one thing I know for sure, especially those of you who have been following politics of South Sudan since it independent to the present. The South Sudan government is just a small mafia control group government. It's not a real government. It's a symbol of a government in another country, but its real purpose is, those of us who have worked within knew that the only reason why 2013 was created, it was a power struggle, like Akol Paul said, and also it was an opportunity to loot the country, because there was no any way all these people were going to enrich themselves. So there was two reasons why 2013 was created. One, it was an opportunity to loot the country in the name of fighting coup. It was also an opportunity for the president to eliminate the people that he doesn't want, the people that he seemed threatened of. People like Paganamom, Dengalor, Biai Dengajak, Mama Nyandengdit, Tabandengai, Ezekiel Garquat, all these people that now have recycled themselves back into the government were some of the reason why the president, Kir Mayadit, decided to orchestrate a coup that never exists as a way to eliminate these people. The people who end up becoming loyal to him created a reason to return back to the government, and today they are the same group recycled back again. Now, what happened in that 2013 era? Government had plenty of money, and those money were looted, divided according to individual interests. And now they are established. They are wondering, are we South Sudanese still well aware of their plan, or have we just forgotten about what has happened? So I guess Akol Paul put it very clear that SPLM has failed, and SPLM has lost its vision, and he and among other group of cadres are working in the interest of trying to bring back the SPLM that is dead. Well, my message to Akol Paul is this: you cannot bring that SPLM back. The version of the SPLM that has died was a version that used to unite all of us in purpose, used to give us dignity as a country. The version of the SPLM that we have right now has absolutely no meaning to all of us. So until we have a new political party, this SPLM thing is not going to work. It's not going to work because they have lost their mandate obligation to service the people of South Sudan. They have lost their mandate obligation to feed on international community businesses. At the UN level, at the personal level, at political level, they have lost relationship with the rest of the world and South Sudanese. So if I was Akol Paul, I should be looking for another job. Because no matter how much you're going to preach this idea of reviving the dead SPLM from its graveyard in Juba back to a political spectrum, while intimidating citizens, while arresting political dissidents, while not providing an atmosphere for political debate, then this SPLM have no use, and it would not succeed servicing itself. So those were some few things I had wanted to break down for those of you who are actually coming late, and for those of you who are behind the news. So when it comes to the issue of the hospital, like you said, it's a shame someone like a Col Paul would see losing public service at the expense of maintaining a political party is the right things to do. I think it is the opposite. Political parties always work for the interests of public service rather than public service sacrifices has to be made to accommodate political parties. The only place I've seen such exist was recently in Iran, when the government collapsed. The central bank went and seized all the money and left the citizen broke. I think that's what Akol is trying to tell us, that in the event of war, the government have the right to seize all the assets to protect themselves from us, the citizen. Well, this film is not going to work, Mr. Akol Paul. You're a good man. You're very educated. But you completely in a wrong partnership with the people of South Sudan and the government that you represent as a Secretary General. So, on the idea of we're going to have election, this is just the best joke you ever heard. I think, in my opinion, this is all the people around Salva Kiir Mayardit who knew that if Kiir Mayardit can do this election, he doesn't have legitimacy as a president. So this election is going to be hammered in our head. We're going to have election. We're going to have election. Even if it's only 5 people standing online, as long as there's a camera that suggests that, hey, there was election done, they can just spin it and say, hey, the president has been reelected again, and by then, even if the president decides to step down, he will go down in history with dignity as elected president. But the truth is, this president is deceiving himself. You cannot be elected as a president while you're killing your own people, while you're mobilizing mercenaries to come and fight on your behalf to silence your dissidents, while you're arresting political opposition, while you have human displaced inside Juba, while you have millions of South Sudanese across East Africa, and while you're having starving children, while you allow thieves to take all that they can and punish the poor, and you expect people to just jump up and South Sudan waye, Salva Kiir waye, and then let's elect him again. Well, maybe your family, Mr. Salva Kiir, will be the only to elect you. But to those of us who are tired, who feel shame to why we even created this country to begin with, the idea of supporting your government to even discuss election, it would be just a tragic, it would just be a complete betrayal of our ideas as the people of South Sudan. Well, I'm glad I live here in the West. I'm glad Washington, D.C. can't take this nonsense, because all of us, every political analyst in the world, see whatever it is that you're talking about in terms of election as just a joke, the best political joke ever said. It is political joke because, number one, you cannot run a country as a family business, kill any person you want to kill, arrest any person you want to arrest, and yet you still have the nerves. You still have the nerves to suggest that you needed people to vote for you. If people of South Sudan, do you think they're not watching? Do you think they're blind? Or do you think they're mentally ill? Where's all the money? Where's all the oil money? Personal use for personal purpose. You were paying Ugandans more money, Ugandan soldiers, you were paying them more money than the SPLM soldiers. And you expect people to fight your war, a war that has absolutely no meaning whatsoever. South Sudanese killing their own brothers. You make us look completely fool in the eyes of the world. There's no enemy in South Sudan. We only have grievances. We have communities who have been neglected. We have communities who are not participating in the government. If that's what you call enemies, then probably you need to start within your own Warab state, Mr. President. And you need to start within your Warab state, and you will need to see communities around Barkazal. Have you done a good job? What happened to the road of Barkazal? The millions of dollars that were spent. Yet, you worried about what people like Bolakum said, but you're not worried about the people who actually stole the country. What a shame. So, in time of election, families and friends, there's not going to be election. The election is just only being used as a justification to buy time. And if there's also an election, there will never be election at a country where one ethnic tribe, which is Dinka, my tribe, feel entitled to the government at the expense of alienating the second largest tribe, the Nuer community, and Equatorian community. And you expect there's going to be peace. Peace is never going to come to South Sudan until we all see each other equal, until we all see each other as South Sudanese. Until this president realizes that he has already lost the interests of the people of South Sudan support. Having said that, I salute each one of you, comrade, wherever you are, as you dissect some of my conversation with you. I look forward hearing some feedback. But the truth is, Akol Paul has disgraced himself. He should just step down and forget about even trying to handgrade the SPLM secretariat from the graveyard where it is already dead. This SPLM has been dead and it's not coming back. SPLM has lost visions, has lost purpose, has lost directions, has lost everything. So there's nothing left of SPLM but just only a skeleton of what used to look like SPLM. So Akol Paul should be ashamed of himself, suggesting that we shall never. I was looking at him. He's just making such a fool of himself. We shall never surrender, like really seriously. Who are you trying to preach this gospel to? When we use those statements, we shall never surrender, it was when we were united. Where's the unity right now? Where's that unity that would bring the people of South Sudan together? I guess it is only playing in your mind, Mr. Akol Paul, that South Sudan has already divided itself across ethnic line, across regions. Just in case if you are blind, not seeing it. The last SPLM chapter over here in the United States, dead. The last SPLM chapter in Egypt, dead. So there's nothing you will preach to regain the trust of the people of South Sudan. I would suggest you need to go back and get your mind checked if you really know what you're talking about. Thank you.